Welcome. Today we're talking with Eric Bonnell. He is an enterprise risk, operational risk executive with more than 20 years experience. Eric, welcome and thank you for joining us at today's Banker Digest.
Thanks, Larry. It's good to be here to talk to you today.
Great, thank you. So let's get started, Eric. What's new in risk management? What are the hot topics?
Well, there's a few things going on in the world today. With banks like SVB, capital and liquidity is something that the regulators are looking for. I'm not sure it's really a big risk for banks, but demonstrating that they're doing it is a risk. And over time, having more capital available will be a requirement. Customer fairness is another area. The regulators really want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers in a fair manner. Payment fraud is another area that's very big right now. Third-party risk management, making sure that your vendors are doing what you expect them to do. Money laundering and knowing your customer data, making sure that's correct, and just data quality and privacy in general is a very important topic for today.
Great. Thank you, Eric. So what's the latest on payment fraud? What's happening there?
I think what's happening is from a customer perspective, customers, especially smaller customers, don't have the security that larger companies have. And sometimes the bad guys can get into their email. And this is called business email compromise. Once they are able to take control of the email, they can act as if they're the customer. They can send emails to the bank and ask for transactions to happen and authorize. And if it's not
Mm-hmm.
at the bank, it's something that can cause fraud. So what banks should do is do education for their customers on how to secure their environment, understanding and awareness of this issue, and do better with their authentication practices. They should be easy for the customer to use, but hard to break. And that's where banks should spend their time making sure they have multi-factor authentication in place to combat this.
Great. Thank you. So you also mentioned third-party risks. What do you see as the keys to managing third-party risks?
So if I'm a regulator, I'm going to look at a third party, how they act as if they're part of your bank. They're just another resource for your bank, and the bank is accountable for the actions that they take from that perspective. So you want to manage them almost like you manage any other people resource, employee or a contractor. You're going to want to make sure that you've done your due diligence on, are they a good third party to work for? Are they secure? And uh, are they doing the right things for
Hmm.
you, especially in front of your customer? If they're a reflection on you to your customer. And I think that's the biggest key issue, is that making sure that what they're doing and the systems they support are in place and proper. And if they go down, there's a way to manage business continuity.
Great. Thank you. So another kind of area of risk management. What's your perspective on ESG and how do we incorporate ESG into a bank's risk management program?
So understanding the requirements for ESG is about as clear as mud. There are some standards out there in the environment, especially in Europe, but the regulators don't tell us what that means for us, what the focus is, what it entails, what they expect. From an environmental perspective, most of the risk is longer term, and it's more about how do you incorporate good practices within your bank, and seeing if your customers do to
Hmm.
uh, to support the environment, right? And from a social perspective, it's about how do you take uh, action in your local communities to support your local communities. That's, you're kind of already doing that if you're a bank in your CRA program, your Community Reinvestment Act program.
Hmm.
You should be tying that into your risk program as well. And then the reporting bubbles up to the enterprise risk reporting as another section of the reporting.
Great. Eric, thank you for spending time with today's Banker Digest and updating us on managing payment fraud, third-party risks, and ESG as part of a bank's overall risk management program. Again, thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate all the time you've given me today.
Great. Good. In closing, thank you for joining today's Banker Digest. If you have additional questions for Eric, please see the link in his bio.